Welcome to this week's piece. This is a sweet little side table that my stepdad picked up for me. It has the little magazine rack that will not be used for magazines, I'm sure. It fits a laptop or an iPad wonderfully. It's in pretty good condition. There's just a few spots of the finish that need to be taken care of. But we're going to go a little bit textured on this, so I wasn't too worried about it. I did have the idea to keep the top and the legs natural. That was, of course, when I thought the whole thing was made of maple. And as I was removing the finish, I realized that we are dealing with poplar, which is fine. I love poplar, but it does have quite a bit harder color variations. So we're going to have to take care of that with a wash just to kind of tone it back and still get the natural wood look. Now I go through and get as much as I can with my orbital. And then once I've done that, I will go in by hand and clean up the corners and around the edges on the top and all that. This is the tedious work. If you have a multi-tool, a lot of them have the little triangle sander heads, and those things are brilliant. I'm not sure why I didn't bust mine out. I was a little disappointed in myself after I had spent arm-numbing time getting all of this off, because they had a really, really strong stain on this, so it's fine. I did it. I'm stronger for it. And as I was doing this top section, I was just reminded of something one of you guys had said. Sherry Warnock, you had told me to use a deck of cards and they will perfectly fit around the edges of things. I still have not done that, and I think it is a brilliant idea. So for the rest of you out there who are smart enough to do what Sherry says, definitely get a deck of cards. So I finished up the rest of this with a sanding sponge just to give it a scuff sand, and then of course we cleaned everything and got it ready for paint. As I said previously, I'm doing a wash on the top just to bring the tones together. Instead of mixing up a cup of wash, all I'm doing is getting the top of this wet, and then I will dip my paintbrush into the paint. I'm using, this is dark khaki, now called Sandstone in the Chalk Mountain line. It is exactly what it sounds like. It's like a deep khaki color, and it's lovely because it still gives you the natural look, but it's toning down the variations in the poplar. So it worked really well for this, and I love it. Anyways, you just make sure that your brush is still wet, the top was wet, and then, you run the paint across, and then you wipe it back in the direction of the grain. And it's wonderful. I then did the exact same treatment to the legs, and they fully match now. As far as the rest of the piece goes, I'm just going to lay down a base coat of Mellow white. I'm doing that all over the entirety of the piece, and that's just going to give me kind of a base coverage, and then we'll go in and play around with the finish from there. All right, quick thoughts. These are like punishment pieces to me because you can't fit your hand in here, and I hate these. Super cute, but not a fan. So my thoughts are, since I won't be able to do the same technique in here that I can everywhere else, I was going to put decoupage because, you know, that'll be easier, maybe. Anyways, the piece fits perfectly on the small section over here. It does not, however, fit perfectly on this section here. So I think my best bet is to try and match up the napkins with a thin strip down here, which of course is going to be difficult because that's the hardest part to reach. Yeah, I don't know. And then I have to figure out what I'm going to do with the bottom section. I think I can get my hand in there well enough for the bottom section that I can do the finish on there. But doing it to these two sides is just no thanks. So yeah, so I've got these napkins. These are the ones that bled really bad, the green. So I'm going to try something a little different. I still have to peel off the layers of backing, and we're going to use a thick poly this time and a very light amount. And before I go over the top, I'm going to let the bottom dry all the way, and we'll see if that works. So wish me luck. So as you can see, I just removed the extra ply on the napkin, and now I'll just work with the top. You want to make sure that you're only working with the printed ply. And then this Minwax one coat, it is a very thick polyurethane, so it's not as watery as other ones. So this was my thought. Because this was so thick and not very watery, is more of a kind of like a gel, I thought it wouldn't cause the bleeding in the inks. And then of course I'm laying it down, and then usually right after I put it on, I will go over again with the top coat of poly. Well, I'm not doing that right now. I'm going to put this on, and these napkins are super fragile, so I kind of just do a lot of tapping motions to push these down, and I'm just pushing it in. I don't want to work with it a lot because, again, I was really afraid of that ink bleeding. And then I'm just going to leave it until it's fully dried. So while I'm waiting for that to dry, I'm just going to go ahead and do the top of this. I'm using the same stuff just because I already had it out. You can see how thick it is. That globule just kind of stays there. I did this on its side because I'm working outside at my parents' house and they have lots of creatures. And I'm so thankful that I did, because no sooner had I finished this and was moving along to the legs that I had the creepiest visitor ever. This is a wasp. I had no idea that it was a wasp because it looks like no wasp I've ever seen. I have researched so many bugs out here, I can't even tell you, and they're all just crazy to me. Anyways, I didn't get bit or stung, so there's that. Now that the tissue paper is dry, I'm just going to go ahead and use my sanding block to take off the edges. As you can see, when I do that, I run it back away from the paper. I never push towards it. I always pull away from it, and it gives you a really nice, smooth, clean line. Thus far, I hadn't had any bleed through, so I was trying to be very careful doing the top coat, just kind of putting it on and moving on, not overworking anything, and this worked really well. So if you're coming across some of your papers, like a lot of the gift tissue papers and some of the napkins, the inks will just bleed because you're dealing with a wet poly and then you're kind of going back over it quite a bit. Yeah, this did the trick, so now I won't be really afraid to do these napkins again. And some papers you can actually work with the bleed of the inks. I have one tissue paper that's like a vintage floral, and it almost always bleeds out the greens, and I just kind of work with it in the piece, and it just makes it look a little bit older and more rustic. So you just kind of choose what you want and kind of go with it. Now back to the top. Since I did a wash on it, it means it raised the grain. Now I didn't do the 220 sandpaper initially because I don't want it to take off any of the wash color. I do it after the first coat of poly, and then my second coat of poly will be really smooth. And I know that poly said it was one coat, but let's be real. Nobody should be putting one coat of poly on an end table. That's just a dangerous game. So it still gets 2 coats. I like the extra protection. So I have out Pismo Blue, Seal Gray, the dark khaki, also known as Sandstone, Woodland Harbor, and Mellow White. Now I'm doing a base coat of Mellow White, and this is because I want everything to blend into the Mellow White. This is going to be a very textured, kind of mottled blend. It's not going to be super smooth like with the swirling that I usually do. It's going to be very pouncy to give texture and just kind of like a stone type of look. I hope that makes sense. But so I just used my Chalk Mountain brush and this little chip brush. And I like both of those because they're natural bristles and they're going to give a lot of texture in and of themselves. So I'm literally just taking all the colors with the chip brush. I am not cleaning in between. I never care about that. And then I spritz with some water. And again, while the white paint is still wet, I'm doing this, and I take the round brush and I swirl everything together. The more you swirl, the more it will become one unified color. The less you swirl, the more you'll see the different variations in the colors. And so this is just going to be the base, and we're going to go in and add a lot more variations, but I wanted this to kind of be where we started at. And I will do this to the entire piece, and then I'll just keep going and adding different colors. And as you can see, now I'm starting to pounce to really add in that texture. And then you can kind of use the darker colors for shading and the lighter colors for popping things out, and you just go back and forth until it's something that makes you happy. There's literally no rhyme or reason to this. Whatever you like, that's what you should be doing. And they could be any colors that you want. It would all work, just so long as they make you happy when you use them. As you can see here, I'm using a couple of the darker colors around the corners, and I'm just going to do this a few times to build up. I don't want to do it in one go because I want you to be able to see all the layers and everything in it. So that's why I do it in multiple rounds, and you'll see as it starts drying and coming together how much depth that you'll get into it. Once I got kind of the base layer down and everything where I wanted it, I switched back over to the chip brush, but like very dry. And I'm using that to pounce because these bristles are fewer and farther between, so they don't give as much coverage, and you can get just like a lighter color application. And then just to add a little extra layer of things, because more is more, right? I'm just going to take the furniture wax and a little bit of the Platinum Seas, which is a very soft gray, and that's what I'm going to seal the body with. So you just mix them together, and then it works kind of like a white wax, only I didn't want it as bright as a white wax. And what's great about mixing the paint in with the waxes like this is you get to control how opaque it is. So if you just want a slight tinge or something to tone back all your colors, you can do that. Or if you want to really put it over the top, you can do that too. I'm also using the same stuff to go over the top of the table. I do this all the time with things that are going to have drinks set on them. I will use poly, and then I go over it with wax as well because it is a great barrier for liquids. Once this is all set on here, I can go back in with a cloth and just wipe all the excess wax back. And would it be one of my pieces without some gilding wax? Probably not. This, however, didn't need a lot. I wanted it to be very irregular and just kind of old style. So that's the route I went. Oh hi, Taryn here with Elegant Upgrades, and we've got our finished piece. She's a dainty little number. I mostly picked this one because I am back in California. I know I'm going back and forth so much right now. There's a lot of stuff going on. So I needed a piece that I could do quickly, and I have some things coming up that I need to practice a finish on. I'm not sure if this is the route I'm going to take, but I think it's close to it. So I'm going to be doing some practice finishes to try and figure out something for a big project I have coming up, and I want to make sure that when I do that project, it's all correct instead of wishful thinking like this one. Now, mind you, I love this. I think it's darling. But I don't think it's the exact route I'm going to take on the other thing. So yeah. Also, I have huge news for me, probably not for you, but definitely for me and my mom. So we officially have the Elegant Upgrades website. Now it's elegant-upgrades because some other human in the world has the regular Elegant Upgrades, and I don't even think they're in business anymore. I don't know, but they still have their website. It is very blank. I was a little sad about it, but we have Elegant-Upgrades, so that's the website, and it will officially have my furniture on it. Probably not this piece because it's a little small to go on there, and you guys know that shipping costs a ton of money, and I don't like to ship things that cost more to ship than the item would actually be, so this little thing probably wouldn't make it on there, but the dressers and things like that will. It's essentially going to take the place of my Etsy shop. I've been wanting to do this for a while, but oh man, it was stressful. But now I've got smalls and things like that. So little things that we've redone because when I'm in Portland, I don't have a ton of time to do that and I can't really get those things done. But here, I've got my mom, and so I'm kind of showing her how to do that, and so she can be in charge of the smalls and kind of help with that aspect of it because it's really hard for me to do furniture and that. So that's exciting. We have that. You can shop almost anything, not this. And this isn't on yet. It has a twin and it's really cute, but we're looking for the hurricane glass for it. But yeah, so if you guys want, and obviously you don't have to, please do not feel the need to, but if you want to look at it, I think it's really fun. Lucas is gonna come in. Hey babes.
Do you want to play with me?
In just a minute, I'm filming this. Can you hold on a sec?
I'm gonna go ask Greg, okay?
Okay.
Greg, do you want to play with me?
So, sorry about that. Anyways, such is life. I hope you'll check it out, Elegant-Upgrades. I'm very excited about it. I hope it does well. I don't actually know. You guys know I'm just kind of on this journey, hoping for the best. We're trying to buy our house and trying to, like, I want my income to be equal to or more than my husband's. That would be the goal, but I don't know that that's gonna happen. But yeah. Anyways, you guys are amazing. Thank you so, so, so much. I can't tell you how much it means that you guys are here and you watch my channel. I just am blown away all the time. And I see more and more new names popping up that I start recognizing because you guys keep commenting, and I hope you know how much I appreciate you. It means the world to me. So I will see you next week.